the stars. You know those twinkling lights in the sky? The Bible references to them, but there are those today that try to find some meaning in them, as if any one of the stars gave a shit about this rock that we live on. In the 101 Scientific Facts website, right over there, silly attempts to find some magical smoking gun that will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Abrahamic deity not only exists, but should be specifically lending credence in the science classroom, as if Scripture ever belonged there in the first place. This video will address those references to stars, starting right now. In claim number 25, usage of the passage of Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 22, which states that the number of stars is incalculable. And then number 27 uses the passages of Genesis 22, verse 17, and Hebrews, verse 12, which compare the number of stars to that of grains of sand on a seashore. That's a tongue twister. That's kind of a funny way to hide that they don't have 101 facts. They had to split them between a couple of them. But we'll go on with this, okay? In both of these claims, they refer to number 25, where they say that it was not known there was an extremely large number of stars in the sky. They claimed only 5,000 of them were visible in the sky at the time due to lack of technology. Well, you can prove this wrong by a simple experiment. What we will do is just simulate the conditions in which ancient civilizations were under during the authoring of the first mention in the Bible, which, let's see, I think it was Genesis. That was written in 1700 BCE, or 1400, depending on which scholar you talk to. What kind of lighting do you think that they had throughout a village? They probably used bonfires or lanterns or candles or things like that, right? Even torches. This is a very primitive way to light things, but it works. It's extremely inefficient, takes constant maintenance of the fire, and it's not likely to be burning all night, right? So they probably spent a good chunk of the night in absolute darkness. Now, apparently, the fact that any light source around you, being anywhere nearby you, will drown out the ability to see the night sky. This seems to be beyond creationists, because modern man does not get the opportunity to see many stars unless they are out in very remote areas without the glaring light of the city that drowns out the night sky. So the next time you're out camping, go to an area where there is no light, none whatsoever for miles in any direction. Then look at the sky. Just tell me what you think there, what you see. Do you see more than 5,000? I can guarantee you I see more. Now, number 26, that uses a passage of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 26, and claims that it tells of a finite number of stars. In other words, a fixed number of stars. That is making the claim that would have a 50-50 chance of being true, because you only have two choices when you use the word finite, either finite or infinite. Okay, it's absurd to claim this because, as a scientific fact, it can be reasonably assumed by observation. So, yeah. Let's just look at the scripture on this one. Okay? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number, and calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might. For that he is strong in power, not one faileth. It says, essentially, look up. Let's see. Look who made the stars. Or behold who made the stars. That brings them out by number, calls them all by name, blah, 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 blah. By his awesomeness, he is awesome, da, 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 not one is missing. Okay, so the key things here is that God names all the stars. Cool. He numbers them. Cool. But I want to know where in the passage it says that it's a fixed number. It doesn't. Infinity is the concept that numbers can continue counting forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So if he was counting, that doesn't mean that it was a fixed number. It means that he was counting. So that's not where they're getting it. So that is just an absolute load of bullshit claim. Number 62, which claims that the stars are each different. Well, you look up in the sky, of course they're each different. You get different colors, different intensities, different sizes. Of course they're going to be different. You can see that with the naked eye. So, what do we have so far? We have an infinite number of stars. Well, you take a look, or not an infinite number of stars, but an incalculable number of stars. When they say you can only see 5,000, I can go out today in a completely darkened area, and I can see a hell of a lot more than 5,000 in a very small area. So that's one. Two, they're saying it again, and we just proved that. And then the third one, which is, which number was that? 26, which says that they're a finite number. Well, logically, one would make that is a reasonable assertion, period. Okay, I don't think there is an unlimited number of stars. Just logically, it doesn't make sense. Okay, and then number 62 is saying that they're all different. Well, I can see it, they're all different. Okay, now if I can see that just by looking in the sky, naked eye and the whole ball of wax, they had to have seen that at the time of the authoring of the book of Genesis, which was they say that the book of Job was written first, but Genesis is the beginning, right? So we'll just go with Genesis. Okay. Boom. Number 86. Now this is an interesting one. They claim that the Bible references the Pleiades and Orion clusters in Job 38, verse 31. It says, "Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades or loose the belts of Orion?" Or the belt of Orion. These are the exact words that the website uses. The Pleiades is a well-known cluster of stars located just to the celestial east or west, the celestial east of the Taurus constellation. Orion is a constellation that is in the southern sky that has its rightmost star of his belt, you know, the three stars. That's right next to the closest celestial equator. That's like, you know, less than a minute. So, let's look at the Pleiades cluster. It's clearly a cluster of stars as visible to the naked eye. It's mentioned in almost every major culture in history, and the close proximity of the stars would suggest that anything said about them would mention their close proximity and how tight they are. Orion is a constellation of stars, but Orion is also a nebula found just under the belt that is visible to the naked eye on a dark night, but it was never mentioned as a nebula until after, 1610, 17th century. A guy named Fabri de something, Piresque, or something like that. And he was the first one that ever mentioned it to be anything other than a simple star. So I would think that it's safe to assume that the mention of the Orion's bands actually means Orion's belt, which is making up of the three stars on the belt of Orion. And since a belt can be loosened or tightened, the usual reference to Orion's belt is referencing an actual belt. That would suggest that this claim had every intent to deceive the listener into believing that the Bible actually meant that reference to be the nebula of Orion. So, a load of crap. Debunked. Pwned.